always knew. When the moon turned blue, you'd be gone, away and done. The road was long, and your hands were cold, and I missed you immediately. When they stopped you, you gave a false name. You carried on up Colby Road, sitting there, head in hands. You fucked it. is heaven. I can't see. Waiting for me. Will you wait for me? Clocks keep ticking. Time goes slow. Clouds aren't moving. Waiting for the snow. And I keep remembering when the beat of your heart was with mine. You were holding me so tight inside. Cry without end. If tears could express our frustration, we'd cry without end. Cry without end. If tears could express our frustration, we'd cry without end. But song silence well ran dry. My skin crumbled, tears like stone. And I keep remembering when the beat of your heart was with mine. You were holding me so tight inside. Cry without end. If tears could express our frustration, we'd cry without end. Cry without end. If tears could express our frustration, we'd cry without end. 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 Cry. Needles lose the thread. Fear and lust, the dirt, the rust, the voices in her head. Poplar trees, cartwheels, scuffling, she walked for miles. The bells chime, telling her the time. Dreaming, wondering, who will say, will you be mine? Dreaming, wanting you to say, will you be mine? Let's walk in the night, stood under the light. Lips wet and wet and breath was kissed with all our might. Let's walk silhouette the evening sky. Headlight tops, oily rainbows, where the stars, it's a movie. Don't spit, I wouldn't lie, not to you, forever mine. Poplar trees, cartwheels, scuffed knees, she walked for miles. The bells chime, telling her the time. Dreaming, wondering who will say, will you be mine? Dreaming, wanting you to say, will you be mine? Let's walk in the night, stood under the light. It's red and wet and breath was kissed with all our might. Let's walk in the night, step under the light. We kiss while branches silhouette the evening sky. Let's walk in the night, stood under the light. Lips wet and breath was kissed with all our might. In one of the children's homes that I used to live in, we used to riot. We'd barricade ourselves into a room, sometimes for a couple of days. We had a tape deck and a record player. Well, till they turned the power off. And we used to play UB40, Labour of Love 2. Little kids being made to feel alive by the music. Rockstone girl, daffodils and dirt. Ghosts hold moths, pub van and cobs, cooking on gas. Off we go. Rockstone girl, running up Colby Road with a heavy heart. We say goodbye, we can't go back. It's gonna be alright. And the bright sunshine, and I know you tried. We can't go back. It's gonna be alright. We clean that back bedroom, and we put the furniture against the windows and doors. We'll have this bond forever. Thriller on TV, kisses and gates. sunshine. And I know you tried. We can't go back. It's gonna be alright. Little kids being made to feel alive by the music. Rockstoga, 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 Rockstoga. Thank you, rock tradies. Peoples, thank you so much for coming to see us. The record only came out a couple of days ago, so I'm really chuffed you're all here, so thank you so much. Thank you. A bit nervous, but there you go. Thank you. I don't know what's happening now. What goes on? I think we're doing a Q&A. I think. Thank you. Shall I move that out of the way? Oh, my name's on that.
Hello everyone, is this working? Hello. Oh, hello. Didn't expect that. Hi everyone, I'm Miranda Sawyer. I just wanted to say thanks for coming out to see the fantastic Sam Morton. On stage, of course, we have Samantha Morton and Richard Russell, and I think they deserve a round of applause. I'd also like to say that the people who've just left the stage was Laura Groves and Tick, and I think they deserve a round of applause. I'm going to move this mic stand up. So look, the way this is going to go, we've got about 40 minutes for the Q&A. If you have any questions, there will be a bit of a moment where you can ask them, but you're just going to have to shout them, and then I'll repeat them, all right? But that's not happening yet. We're going to chat on stage first, okay? Right. Okay, so congratulations, first record. I mean, I know you've done a few, but, you know, first record together.
You got that?
You've got more sound. Hello. You need some sound in the other mic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I feel like we should start with the genesis of the record, which was kind of Desert Island Discs and kind of Lockdown. Is that true? So I've heard a couple of stories about the Desert Island Discs start. I heard one from you actually, Sam, and then it was different when I've been reading up about it. So Sam went on Desert Island Discs and did it was a beautiful interview. You chose great music, and what you said to me was that you mentioned at a certain point a butterfly, and that Richard heard this and thought, oh, that sounds good, might sample it. And then you got in touch and said, what do you think? Is that how it happened?
It's not working. The microphone's not working. I'll hold it for you.
You can help, yeah, share.
Is he? Hello?
Yeah, try mine.
That's all right, this one's fine. Yeah, I heard Sam on Desert Island Discs, and was it, I mean, that lockdown period is so
Weird.
blurry. Was it even during lockdown? I can't remember what, I think it was.
Yeah.
And...
Still not. Oh, it's working now. Yeah, because I had to do the Desert Island Discs in my bedroom
Yeah.
at home.
And it was Desert Island Discs is very revealing, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
Like, something about that format, you seem to get to know the person, you think you get to know the person quite well with the choice of music and the things they say about it and how much that brings out of people. And I found the whole thing incredibly moving, and I loved the music, and I just found myself relating to all the choices, some of which were things that I'd never heard, and some of which were things I was incredibly familiar with.
Yeah.
So the music was one aspect, and what Sam was saying and how she was talking about her experiences, there was just a quality to it that I thought was very special, and I was just kind of blown away by it. So I thought I should get in touch with her somehow at some point, but I didn't do that for a very long time, because I thought I don't really want to like try calling an agent or something.
Yeah.
And I just thought eventually some way of that happening will reveal itself, which was when I was talking to my brother about it, and I mentioned it to him a couple of times. And he said, did you ever get hold of Sam Morton? And I was like, no, I'm still waiting for the thing. And he said, have you asked Chris Cunningham? who's my friend, and who's obviously amazing genius video director, and he's a musician as well. And I said, why Chris Cunningham? And he said he didn't actually know what the connection was. He said there'll be a connection.
They'll just know each other.
There's a thread there. There's a sort of thread between what they do. And then I googled Chris Cunningham, Sam Morton, and the Horrors video came up, which I've forgotten about. And so I asked him, and he's not what you'd call a networker.
No.
So I wasn't sure how he'd feel about it.
Yeah.
But he sent Sam a really sweet email, and then that was the start.
And what do you remember about that email? What did you feel like when you got it? Because it's obviously out of the blue, and you have no idea what it was.
Well, no, I get a lot of emails from people actually trying to
get you to do stuff.
Will you read this script for a friend, or would you? Because I do. I try to be as helpful as possible, and I do give my email address out to people in the pub and stuff like that. And so it wasn't like an out of the blue email, but it was like, I suppose and in the past I've been approached a long time ago. I went to see an amazing Spiritualised gig in LA, and because I'm a huge Spiritualised fan, and there was a producer there, and I got a bit pissed, and I started rapping or singing or something. Very embarrassing. We've all done that, maybe, and then you really regret, and you're going, what the fuck? And then this very lovely producer said, we should do something together. It didn't feel right, and and then Richard, we met, and it wasn't initially anything to do with making music at all. It was, can I sample your voice? Listen to the everything is recorded music, I think.
Yeah, I was working on that at that time.
And I went, you can have it, totally. Really, really chuffed to be considered to be involved in any way, because I'm a big Richard Russell fan. My friend Alex had given me the album, Everything is Recorded, as a present. And I was just, like really overwhelmed and really chuffed that he wanted to sample a little bit of my voice from Desert Island Discs. And then we started talking, and then the 2 hours went like that. It was just so quick. And then we ended up somehow Richard would make music, send it to me to listen to. I would just listen to it and then close my eyes and write, what's that, like with an unbroken chain of automatic writing for all the bits of music. And then I think those pieces of music got put to one side. There was some kind of stems in there we used, but then I went into the studio when we were allowed to go into the studio, and then we'd just sit with a blank piece of paper in the morning, like a big pad, and just start, and then we'd start writing songs together, and
But that you've made it sound like quite easy to sit down and just create a song, and it's not always easy. It's quite often to do with the vibe or the way that you communicate in the studio. You can have two incredibly talented people in there. It just doesn't happen.
I think it's because it wasn't contrived. We were doing other stuff, and it was more like I was just having an opportunity as a 45-year-old woman who's always been a hugely passionate artistic person about music or poetry, film, theatre, walking, nature, whatever. This was just an opportunity to do something creative with an amazing human being. And so I didn't have any expectations. I didn't have any we're going to make a record or anything. That, in fact, when Richard said we'd made a record, I was a bit surprised. I thought we were just pissing about, privately pissing about.
He was like, actually, I've counted the tracks. We got a record.
Also, the thing you mentioned about, it's not always necessarily easy to make music. I haven't really had that experience of it being. I've had a period where I stopped making music for a long time, which was kind of like this sort of. I did productive other things, but it was quite disastrous for me personally to stop doing that. And so when I got back into making music again, because I'm one of those sort of extrovert introverts, but fundamentally I'm an introvert with an extrovert bit on there. But basically, the idea of being in the studio with someone where I don't have a connection with them and I don't get on with them and I'm not going to enjoy it, I wouldn't be able to do that. So I think I've used my instincts quite a lot before we start about just who's going to be there. So I'm kind of thinking it's got to be a good experience, whatever happens. And I'm not just up for it being a random, because there's a sort of whole manufacture way of making music, so I'm not really part of that
putting a producer
system.
With an artist.
Somewhere they don't know each other and someone's put together and they've got no idea. So I don't really do that. So I've got to have some sort of strong gut feeling that it'll at least be an all right day. Whatever happens from it. So I think our experience was particularly just sort of flowing, and I happy for Sam to come in. I've had people say to me, but she wasn't a musician, so that never really, it didn't really occur to me. That it was more just like I felt a connect, because there's obviously an infinite number of musicians in the world, and a small number of people you can have a connection with, and I just felt that there was something there for us to explore. It could have been anything really.
Yeah.
We didn't really know what it was going to be.
I was reading a couple of interviews that you've done around the piece, and there's a couple of quotes I'm going to chuck at you. Okay, one of them is from you, Sam, actually, and it says this was about how you felt making the record, and it was the feeling I've been silenced all my life, and then somebody said you're allowed to speak, because obviously a lot of your childhood is in this record, a lot of your experiences. I'm not saying it's all directly you, but there's a lot of you in this record as well. And that was a quote that really sung out at me, that you're allowed to speak in a way that perhaps you've done a lot of great acting, but acting is somebody else's words, isn't it?
Yeah, completely. And that is a huge, big love of my life, and that's not going anywhere. I just love it so much. I feel just such a, like the missing piece meets the big O, the Shel Silverstein books. I always felt like acting, I just had this connection and I could roll really smoothly with it. But again, yeah, you are being other people all the time, very borderline schizophrenic, if I have to be honest. But then, in a way, what felt like the first time I was able to speak is my words being used and edited and enhanced and joining words. And I play piano very badly, but I'd play the piano at home and I'd record stuff and send it to Richard, or I'd go and sing in the woods and record that on my phone and send it to him, or just funny sounds or breaths, so it was just like a creative rebirth, really, because acting, when you do a lot of television, there is such an industry behind it whereby there's not much time for rehearsal. You turn up, you've got to be on the money, obviously you know your lines, but it's a very different world. Here there was no pressure on us, and it was just pure creativity, and it was incredibly awakening. And going back to the childhood stuff, there's definitely some elements of that. Obviously you can see that with the album cover, the Nick Waplington photograph of Broxtowe, but there's also, Richard has written things in here as well, and there's a connection between, we would have a theme, you know what I mean, and then we'd write a song based on a theme or a feeling. So there is definitely autobiographical sections for me, certainly Hunger Hill Road, name-checking various people.
Name-checking areas and places
areas
as well.
And places, yeah. And we were very careful when we were making the music to have lots of that around us. Obviously we didn't make it in Nottingham, we made it at the Copper House Studios, but just all the pictures on the walls and everything, it was trying to create, I suppose, truth.
Yes, which is what the creativity that you enjoy is about, I think. There's another quote that I'm going to throw at you now, which is there's two, but there's this one I thought was interesting about the project, which is, you said it's a self-portrait by Sam, partly, and partly a portrait of her by me, which I thought was it's a little bit like what you've just said. It's like a kind of unpicking. You have Sam's contribution, which may be, like, sometimes it feels like you're singing as though you are a child.
Yeah, there's definitely different characters for different songs, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's also
versions of me,
versions of you,
yeah.
But then you're turning it into something else as well, because you're making a portrait of Sam or of a character.
And it's sometimes hard to fully explain how true collaboration works, because the nature of it is that there aren't any rules or boundaries, and there isn't any ego, and there isn't any... I mean, anyone can do anything in a real collaboration. I don't think that I did any more than many producers do on records that are then seen as being by just the vocalist, because that is just often how it works.
Yeah.
Sam was uniquely generous and sort of rigorously fair-minded about wanting it to be presented as being both of our work. And I would say that's far from how every artist wants that to work.
Mm.
but it can work every imaginable way.
Yeah.
You know, and so when you've got a bunch of people in a room, or two people in a room, you can call it anything you want, right? You can. So, but one of the things that we came across was like this slightly convoluted thing that we love, which is like Sade.
Yeah.
Is a group.
Yeah. And Sam Morton is a group.
And Sade is also Sade's name.
Yeah.
She is Sade, the group is Sade. But when you see a photo of Sade, that will just be a photo of Sade the person. And most people won't understand out in the world that Sade is a group. But that's how that they know that, and they always work together. And I just thought that's a lovely thing. That's a nice thing they've got. So that's what we talked about. And then, you know, it's like, so are people going to, we talked about whether people are going to understand that, and kind of come to the conclusion that it doesn't matter whether they do or not. That just felt like a nice way of presenting it that was, on one hand, simple and really direct and understandable, and another way, there's like another layer there for us.
Yeah.
But, you know, collaboration is it's different every time.
Yeah, it is. There is some, so the songs that you played, I'm just going to, it's nice to tell everybody what the songs are that you played. So you played Highwood House, which is very short, and then goes into Hunger Hill Road, and then you played Cry Without End, Let's Walk in the Night, and Broxtowe Girl. I'd actually like to talk about a different song, which is obviously on the LP, but it's the first song that you made that seemed to work. This is I've done the reading. You can frown at me, but it says the first song that you made together, which is Purple Yellow, and that maybe I'm wrong, but there's an interesting element to all the songs, but there's a particularly interesting bit about that because it seems to be kind of around your dad, but there's a breath in it. There's a breath in that track, which is just you going, makes it incredibly intimate. There's a lot of intimacy in this album, and it comes sometimes just from little tiny things like that. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that, even if it isn't the first one that you did.
Well, the breath was on a. So the first part of I don't know if it was exactly the first thing we made, but it was part of the very. Maybe it was the first part of the process where Sam would send me stuff.
Yeah.
So Sam would send me voice memos.
Also, like when I was in New York, like Ghosts Are Dancing by the Door, you know, Money's on the Floor, all these other. We released some little record, what they're called, 7 inches, like little white labels before the album. So they're out there somewhere with all these other tracks. But I think that was. Sorry, I will go back to Purple Yellow as well. I think that was yeah.
But then all these voice notes were great. I liked all of them. I liked all the words and all the sounds. And so part of the initial process was Sam would send me something, and I would just sort of mess about with it a bit and send it back to her. And so we were kind of building up layers, and then stuff that I thought that once we got in the room together, we could just have some stuff to sort of play with. And I think that was just a breath that Sam took in one of the voice memos that I sort of made into part of the beat.
Yeah.
And that was, and I think that sort of beat is, I think it's like a breath. It's Sam's breath. And then it's a bit of tapping on a table. So it's very minimal and subtle.
Intimate. Intimate human sound.
Yeah, the thing that, why I smiled when you said Purple Yellow, because the beginning of the song goes like, purple. It's so delicate, and when I first heard it, I was like, oh my God, is that what I sound like? I sound fucking horrible.
And I was like, it's great.
Yeah, the light above her head. And I was like, oh my God, it was the first time I've ever heard myself sing back, because I've acted all these years. I mean, I did session singing years ago for Nightmares on Wax when I was like 14, but I've not sung since I was a kid. And I'm now in my 40s, and I was hearing it, and it's like if you hear your own voice on your answer phone, you're like, oh my God, is that what I sound like? You know, we even though I'm an actor, I can't watch myself back on anything. I feel a right twat, I can't do it. And it was the uncomfortableness. I loved what Richard was doing, but I was like, can't we get another singer? Can't we take the vocals out? Can't we get, I don't know, I was reluctant to close your eyes, let yourself fall moment, deeper and deeper. I just had to just let go, like if you're jumping out of a plane. And once I'd done that, I was fine.
And did that take a time though? Because it is hard. Self-consciousness is hard to lose.
I just was very critical of Richard was incredible what Richard was doing. I thought I had a sound in my head, and when I opened my mouth, it didn't come out. And so I had to then go, but that is what you want, this, whether it's Hunger Hill Road or Purple Yellow, and then obviously the Little Cloud That Cried, they're all just such different. It's not quite the rise and fall of Little Voice, but it is these different characters, these different beats, these different people. We did an amazing cover of a BDP song that I loved, Boogie Down Production, Love's Gonna Get You, and that didn't, obviously we haven't released that, but it was this, like, I always felt, it was just the vulnerability, but now I'm comfortable with it. Yeah. But I wasn't at the beginning.
The vulnerability, particularly with Purple Yellow, was that I felt like Sam's discomfort about it was because it was so raw and vulnerable and honest.
And so personal.
And that was exactly what was great about it.
Yeah.
And I kind of knew that when anyone heard that, they would relate to it because you could just hear how honest it is. And so I think when you're being really honest and doing something raw and from the gut, that can be quite uncomfortable. You're a bit like undressed. But also like the music, Sam sort of didn't really see herself as a singer, but in much the same way, I don't really see myself as a musician. So there we go. So we're in good shape, right? And I think the noises that I was making to centre. I mean, on your less confident days, you could easily think, well, is that good? Is that because I am literally just tapping on a table and I've got her breath going round and round. So, and it's quite a sort of, that's a subtle game with any type of creativity. Is like, you at a certain point, you've got to sort of say, well, it's something I've done, and it exists, and so let's sort of keep going. And then you have your moments where you can see the strengths, and moments where you can see the weaknesses, and you've got to learn to. But I knew what Sam was doing was really special. So it was, it was like an honour to be able to very honestly reassure her about that when that was needed.
Yeah. And also, it was the one that people, when we played the records, the one that they said they loved was Purple Yellow. I was like, okay, now. Sorry, I love it now. It's fine.
That's so funny. Let's talk a little bit about a couple of one of the tracks. They said talk about the last track that you played, which is Broxtowe Girl, because that's a very specific thing that you're singing about, isn't it? Do you want to just talk about that?
Yeah, it's very dated, obviously. It's weirdly the song was written before we got the rights to the album to use Nick Watlington's photo. But I grew up in the Broxtowe Council Estate in the 80s. My dad was a miner, Socialist Workers' Party member, abject poverty. Rishi Sunak said the other day about he didn't have Sky TV. I was so fucking angry. I was like, you try not having any food, mate, or fucking knickers when you go to school. I was so upset by that because, anyone that grew up in that kind of world, I'm not saying it's like a badge of honour, but you never lose it. You never lose not having electricity. You never forget how it feels to be proper hungry. And so Broxtowe Girl is my ode, my gift to the beautiful place I grew up. Rather than being embarrassed by it or whatever, I'm like, no, it was amazing. Pop van and cob, you have a pop van, a chip van, a coal van. All these vans used to come round. So we're in the middle of nowhere because there used to be a pit and then they took the pit away. So all the houses were still there for the miners, but no employment. So everything in that particular song, all those lyrics are about, my brother, stolen lino, two-tone boys. We're going back to the 80s now, and you look at that album cover it's set in. I think he took the photo in the late 80s, but I grew up there in the early 80s.
It's a beautiful picture as well. It's absolutely brilliant.
It's a phenomenal piece of work, and I've waffled a bit, sorry.
No, you haven't.
Did I answer the question?
So the question is about Broxtowe.
Everything's about Broxtowe. It's about growing up on that council estate and, scuffed knees and sweet cups of tea, dirty socks, from skipping in the rain. I don't know what the demographic here is tonight, but if I'm 47,
I'm sure
but if anyone's a bit older, the girls, like we used to have socks up here and they'd be a bit twisted and we'd be skipping. Doesn't matter if it's fucking raining. We just, because we were like told to get out in the morning, like in the 6 weeks holidays, you would be sent outside and come back when it's dark with a sunblessed bag with your sandwiches, like salad cream sandwiches folded, and like, fuck off, come back when it's dark. And you're like, oh. So you'd just be playing out all day, and it's that, and then the dream. I mean, sorry, I'm about to cry. The dream that Ali Campbell, came and sang on the record, because when I was in care, And I grew up listening UB40. I was a huge, huge fan of UB40, amongst many others. But his voice was very healing for me. So we got Ali Campbell to sing, or Richard did, which was
a brilliant
oh my God, wow. So I tried to, I mean, when I sing it, I sung it tonight, that bit is Ali Campbell on the record, obviously. It's not me, so, you know.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's really beautiful.
Thank you.
There's, I'm going to go to maybe a different track now. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how the first two tracks sit together a little bit. So Highwood House and then Hunger Hill Road, because obviously they're the first two things that you hear, and Highwood House is very short, and then we go into Hunger Hill Road. But in my head, maybe not in yours, they go together. Like I can't separate them. They're like two parts of the same bit. And I wondered how I mean, when you structure an album, you structure it in whatever way, don't you? But like those two things seem to really work together for me, and how you came about to put those two things together, I suppose.
Well, the sequence is important.
Yeah.
Of things, right? I suppose like the chapters in a book.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily make sense otherwise. Sam had excellent instincts about all those things. They were just really good. So that was, like I say, collaboration is like those things, you know, and that could be like the sole responsibility of the producer on a record, but not of a record like this. So that was, you know, the whole thing is very much like something. I mean, is that how people are listening to albums now? Some.
Oh, I don't know.
Some.
I deliberately listen to. Yeah, I do.
Well,
I don't shuffle.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that art form may be a bit under attack or under threat, but it's still an incredibly great art form. And in a way, if less people like it, and it's a bit more niche as an art form, that's all right as well.
Yeah.
It's a story, though. It's beginning to end. When you listen to the album, there is Highwood House. It's the beginning, and then it closes at the end. And we had so many more songs that are not on the album that are just knocking about. That at the beginning, it was like, what, you know, even I'm really into numbers and numerology and, you know, significance about things that mean things to me, and patterns and stuff. And so that's how it came about.
But also the first thing you hear is a sample of an artist whose name I'm not very good at pronouncing. Can you do it?
Lata Mangeshkar.
Yeah, Lata Mangeshkar.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing you hear on the record is not Sam's voice. It's not a sound I've made. It's a sample of a record that I'd never heard that Sam brought in and said, maybe we should sample this. And straight away that became something that was like, I looked it up and it was immediately so captivating, and we were so in it, and that first piece of music on the record was made live, spontaneously, with the loop of the record Sam had just brought in. We kept it exactly as it is. It's hard, I don't think there's any editing on it. So there were these beautiful moments, you know, that happened of just spontaneous, you know, that sort of magical energy you can have in a situation like this, where like it was just great and it was right and it was done, and there it is, and it's the first track on the album.
Yeah, it's great. There's another one I'm going to quickly talk about, which is called Double Dip Neon, which is your kind of rave song. We call it slow rave song.
Yeah.
Slow rave. For people our age. Do you know what I mean?
Well, or a bit late in Ibiza, maybe Cafe Del Mar.
Yes.
You know, after the night's, you know, calmed down a bit.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. There's a lot of, I mean, you know, rave can save your life, I would say, and it has saved many.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about that on Desert Island Discs, of being, you know, living on the streets, being homeless, and then taken in by a crowd that some might think, oh, that was a bit dodge. But it was a free party movement, and so I would just travel with travellers and just rock up in a field, Breedon on the Hill, wherever in Derbyshire or Nottinghamshire, and just be involved in these free parties as a kid. And I met the most beautiful people that looked after me, fed me, and also gave me acid, which, weirdly enough, and Double Dip Neon is a type of acid, and not too much, but in a way now I know back that a lot of the trauma that I had, whether it was to do with MDMA at the time, very small little bits, or, you know, having a trip or whatever, it must have done something to my neurons, because there was a huge amount of healing, and a lot of my people I was in care with, who I'm still in touch with today, suffer with chronic post-traumatic stress disorder, and I occasionally have stuff like that, but not to the extent of a lot of people that have either been in prison or, you know, survivors of childhood abuse. And I do think that there's a lot of positives around that community for me. I was never in any real danger, and you know, I ended up, you know, being in a homeless hostel, and then at 16 to a time in my life that saved me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And name checking in that. You know, there's things like that.
There's also there's a sample which I read this and I was like, where is this sample? Because it's a sample of Sterling Void's It's Alright, which is like an all-time, I don't know, rave classic, you know, where every time it's played we all start crying. So like I couldn't hear it because I expected to hear It's Alright. And it's hard to hear within, but it is there.
Yeah, did you get it? Did you
No,
find it? It's
I
on and
didn't.
on. It's the words on and on. It's quite. It's,
Yeah. There you go. Oh yes, of course. I should have got that.
yeah, so it's quite subtly used, but it felt worth
Yeah.
keeping it in there and, you know, going through the rigmarole of clearing it, because that is obviously a nod to that period of time, that, you know, unbelievable music, that scene and that energy, you know, which was also sort of a big, you know, part of the building, kind of building block of my life, I suppose. There was my, you know, life before that and after that, completely different things. So yeah, I mean, we'd shared that experience from different places at different times. And also, what was nice about that scene is, like, I don't know with punk what it was really like, you know, because obviously I wasn't there. I don't know how big it actually was, but rave was big.
Yeah.
And so whilst being like very countercultural and subversive, it was a real people's movement. So it's a really beautiful thing about it. It affected a huge amount of people, and it was going, I suppose, like with two-tone.
The criminal justice thing as well, and we had the poll tax going on, and, you know, there was a lot of unrest in the country. So, you know, people gathering together, and, you know, it was quite political. It was a political movement as well as a musical, revolution.
Yeah.
I felt, and this was
well, especially if you're on the free parties
1990.
then,
Yeah, this for me was 1990. I was far too young to be there, but as I say, I was sleeping rough, and people took me under their wing and looked after me. But there's in the album cover. Can I say that?
Yeah.
So in the album, there's a Mixmag little flyer thing, and I kept it because it's me. They came and they took a picture of me at Marcus Garvey Centre in Nottingham, where one of the first legal rave was ever held. And yeah, it's me, little Sam. It's in there, and I kept it at the time because I felt like I'd, you know, really made it.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, yeah.
But it's quite mad. So when you open the gatefold, there's a page from. Do you remember Mixmag?
Of course, yeah. I wrote for Mixmag.
Right. There you go. So there's a page from Mixmag up there, the club country listings, which we all used to look at, see what's going on, and they used to have a photo of a raver that they'd taken a couple of weeks before every week in Mixmag update, and that raver in that issue is Sam.
Amazing.
It was amazing. So and so she showed me it, and all of this. I mean, all of the artwork is all things Sam had already. So there's this incredible sort of, I guess you had a sort of lifelong resource of stuff to draw on, which was in the music.
Also personal, the photograph, all of it.
So when you open that, you know, there's it's quite. I was.
Oh look, he's got it. He's gonna have a look.
Thank you.
Little Ravy Sam.
He's always there when he's needed.
So this is the.
Should we open it out? Yeah.
If I do that, it's a bit weird, isn't it? It's a bit rude. Who knew I could do that? Right. So, sorry. So yeah, that's Ickle Sam. I feel so bad for that. I still know some of the bouncers, and I feel so bad that I told I'm 16 anyway. I'm 16, and they're like, yeah, right. But yeah, I was very young. There I am. Club
That's
country.
so brilliant.
Yeah. I was also in Looking, but we won't talk about that.
Looking. Were you in? That is really impressive.
A photo story.
Love story. You did a photo love story.
I did something quite similar.
Photo hate story.
Yeah, I did some modelling for Top Knot Hair and Beauty as well. Just anyone to fuck with my hair, anything, I'll just sit there. I obviously just wanted to get on the stage at some point.
Yeah, that's great. Well, you got it, so that's good.
this is also this booklet. I think is quite
Very
special as well.
useful,
So that's
yeah.
all the lyrics, but also you should tell them about that as well.
Oh, yes. It's really hard when somebody's got to write about the record or who you are, and I think it's quite tricky. It's a tricky ask of anybody, but also it's like it was so personal, all this stuff, that I asked a friend, a very dear friend, who is as far as I'm concerned, an absolute genius. He's a writer called Rupert Thompson. And if you don't know his books, he's got one out at the moment called How to Make a Bomb, amazing. But he wrote the sleeve notes
Yeah,
for
they're
us.
great.
And it's like a book in itself. It's not normal. It's like, so I hope that you really enjoy that. It's very, very special, I think. Is that?
Yeah, no, I just think it's great. I
It's
love
so
it.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's emotional touching it. Like I got the record, and then I kind of was too nervous to mess about with it and stuff. Do you know what I mean? So I got a couple of records I've got in my home, so I've not.
So you've not
properly done
opened them?
Well, no, I did a bit, but not properly. I was just too overwhelmed. It's like not quite the same as when I held my first child, but not far off. Sorry.
And how did you feel? Because I actually interviewed you while you were in the middle of the process for a Six Music show that I do, and you were talking about it, but you couldn't talk about it completely, but you were very excited. One of the things that you were excited about is the live performance element, and I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about that, because it's obviously making a record is really different from performing it. You are a performer, but there's something very different about standing up and showing all these lovely people here what it is that you've created. And how have you been feeling about it?
Well, this is the third time we've ever played properly, which is pretty awesome.
Good,
we did one on Jules Holland, but this is the third time, and I think that's quite good, actually, because it's really good. I feel really chuffed. I've not done a play since I was like 19, so I've not been on a stage other than speaking for the NSPCC and things, child protection stuff and things like that. So it's terrifying, but I'm also loving it.
Yeah, great.
How about you? Good.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
You've done it so much.
I haven't really.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done.
Have you ever done it? Can I just ask? Because I hope you all noticed they've got coordinated jackets in a pink lady style.
Phenomenal.
So I'd just like to ask Richard, have you ever done that before? And I bet you haven't.
I've got to say I have.
Yeah.
What? So
pink ladies or T-birds, isn't it? We'll get
the jackets. We did it once. So the last time I played in a band was with Bobby Womack.
Okay,
I made
yeah.
a record with him.
No pressure.
And he was. Yeah. Well, although. Yeah, but everyone feels that. It's not like he wasn't feeling that because he hadn't done anything for a while.
Yeah,
so
but,
it's not, I mean, everyone.
I hadn't really thought about that till then.
And it's quite a long time ago, and now, and Bobby has sadly passed since then, and it was an amazing experience to do that. When we were in the studio with him, he was extremely enthusiastic in the studio, and he was like, "We're going to tour this, right?" And I was thinking, that's never going to happen, surely.
Yeah.
And he had a band already, as he had his bands, and he was very serious about it. And then he sort of came back to us and he was like, "Yeah, we're touring this," and so we
got touring jackets.
So we got jackets made, and it was a lovely thing that stopped everyone having to think about what they're going to wear.
Yeah,
That was
nice.
that's the main strength of it. It's like you don't think about what you're going to wear on stage because you've got a jacket. So when the possibility of this came up, I thought we'll get some jackets done. And the Maharishi, which is a wonderful, they were kind enough to do. They did the Bobby Womack jackets, and they've done these jackets for us as well. So it does make a big difference. You put you're like a little gang.
Yeah,
like the Pink Ladies.
And it's also like, for me, it's like in a sweet way, because I get into all these different characters when I'm singing. It's my little costume.
Yeah,
That's
nice.
Yeah.
It's lovely, and it looks great.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, you've been very quiet up there and nice, I have to say. Do you have some questions? You can shout. Like, why did I know somebody on the front row would have a question? It's got to be a question, remember. Statements are good, but it's always much better if there's a question with a question mark on the end. If you shout it up, I'll say it out so everyone can read it. Oh, actually, do you want the mic? Yeah, that'll work, because you're quite close.
Can I start with a statement first? I
Yeah.
saw you perform Let's Walk in the Night on Jules Holland, and I was so blown away that I immediately bought a ticket for this. So I just thought it's
Yay.
such a beautiful song.
Thank you so much.
Can I just
Yeah.
ask?
Oh, thank you. Cheers.
Can I just ask what your biggest musical influences are? You mentioned UB40. Who else do you hold up?
Oh my gosh, it's really, really hard because I suppose Future Sound of London, in regards, growing up, I just, love Papua New Guinea. That was like a huge part of my life. I love Kathleen Ferrier, so I love kind of proper like singing. I love Chopin. I love music, all of it. So it's kind of, I don't really have, I love Fleetwood Mac. I don't know. I just love music, all of it.
Sam did an incredible show on, it was on Six Music,
Six, yeah,
at
DJs
Christmas,
for a couple of hours.
which
yeah.
is, so presumably you can listen to that now.
I don't know.
They're
That
quite
show,
rubbish sick, sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
that is it was a very special couple of hours of music. I remember listening to it at Christmas, and there is something quite unique in Sam's sort of curating of music, which is that I suggested listen to that. It's really, there's some stuff in there which is just so. I mean, there's one song you played where I was like, what is that? Who could that be? Because I always try and work things out, but I don't know what they are. It's like a little game I play with myself, to try and see how close you can get to guessing it.
Yeah.
And there's all so many threads to music, and this was, and you know what it was? Unless I've got this wrong, because I had to look it up afterwards, and I couldn't find it. It was a recording of Keith Richards singing in a hotel room.
Yeah,
And it's amazing.
beautiful- Yeah, the nearness of you or something. It's when I met my husband. Obviously, these are back in the days we just got like tape and a CD, I had a little record player. But this is like I'm name dropping, and I am, but I don't mean to name drop. But I did a film with Johnny Depp, and he's lovely, by the way. He's an amazing man. Don't boo me, please. And he loves music passionately, and I love music passionately. So we'd have this thing where we'd make mixtapes for each other and give them to each other, Johnny and I. And that was the first time I heard it because Johnny Depp put it on a mixtape for me, and I fell in love with this. And it's really, I don't think we can get it, Harry, can we? My husband's out here. It's so hard to find. Like if you try and search for it, Spotify.
You wouldn't have thought anything to do with the Rolling Stones could be that obscure.
Yeah.
But it's also his voice is
He's singing
truly
alone on a piano. He's recorded it probably on an 8-track at like 4 in the morning or something. It's one of the most beautiful things
He
ever.
must have been there for all these years behind Mick
What's that,
Jagger
really?
going, I could do that. Because it's really great.
No, go on, Harry, what did you say?
He was on trial for heroin.
Oh, he was on trial for heroin.
He thought he
Prison.
was about to go to
He
prison.
thought he was about to go to prison. So you can hear that in his voice. Obviously, he's very upset, and emotional, leaving behind people he loves.
Yeah, beautiful. Great question.
Thank you.
Has anyone got a question? I can see you, but I can see you at the back as well. So if
There's
you
a
do,
guy here at the
you're
front
right.
as well.
Yeah, do you want to ask your question? Do you want my mic? Is that easier?
Thank you for this evening.
Thank you.
It's all like new to me, but I check out too many things, and this is mind blowing. Love the
thank
interview.
you.
That's my statement. Quick question, actually, to Richard. How often do you listen to Desert Island Discs? Because for this to happen is just, I love the story.
I mean, I should say I'm definitely not listening to Desert Island Discs trying to find people to collaborate with. I'm not trawling. I'm really not doing that. I'm really busy, and I'm not doing that. I listen to it as often as possible. I love listening to it. It's a real treat to hear it live. That happens fairly rarely. It is just better hearing it live, but that's really, it's been busy. But when you get into the really old ones, it gets kind of
I
mind-blowing.
think Sue Barker was a bit mean once.
She was awful.
She
Sorry.
was so grumpy, and there was
She was really rude to
The
people.
host
yeah,
was
she went to Jarvis Cocker so horribly, and I was like
Patronising.
so patronising and like talking
And
to him like he's a
Tracy
piece of shit. I was
Yeah,
like, oh, fuck off.
And then if you listen to,
Swearing a lot,
Completely
so I don't
agree.
hate me for that.
if you
That's
listen to
correct.
the Ian Jury one,
Yeah.
the amazing Ian Jury, and the way that they're talking to Ian Jury, because I think it used to be like a class thing, like the BBC, they saw
This
themselves
is the
as like,
voice of the BBC.
right, and Ian Jury was like a working class man, and they so they were talking down to him. It's like, this is Ian Jury. Who are you? Like to that. I mean, it was that was a great one. But there's also Liberace's one.
Oh, I haven't heard that. Bet that's brilliant.
It's unbelievable. So there's something about the really old ones. I mean, it's an incredible archive of stuff. So
It's a perfect radio program. There has never been one better.
yeah.
And when you hear that, the music, when you do the show, you try not to cry. It's weird, because they actually play it when you're doing the interview and you're like, oh my God.
Amazing. So we've got
Any more
questions at the
questions?
back. We've got, oh yes, this lady here. Look, you're very convenient. You're very close. But if you want to ask a question at the back, just come forward and then we can give you the mic.
Yeah, hi. Statement first. I think you're amazing.
Thank you.
The horrors, you mentioned that earlier. Gina's Parasite. How
Yeah.
did you get involved? And that was just amazing.
Oh, why thank you. Well, Chris is a mate, and I've done a U2 video for Electrical Storm where I played a mermaid. I had to get off with Larry Mullen. It's quite odd. In a bath on a beach in the south of France. And I was like, that is the last time I'm doing a music video. I loved it. It was Anton Corbijn, who's a genius, and he actually, the Sam Morton photo you see up there, he took all our pictures for us because he's just insane. And I did the film Control with him. He directed that. Yeah, what was the question again? Horrors, yeah. Anyway, so when Chris asked me, I was like, oh, it's Chris. I don't want to say no because it's Chris. And then because I love dancing. Probably I danced a little bit tonight, but I just love dancing like with a passion, and it makes me happy.
There's the Anton Corbijn photo.
And Chris had seen me dancing out and about, and I'm losing it really, just losing myself to the music. Exactly. So he just said, "We just come and dance." And then I went on like Kentish Town Road to a second-hand shop and bought a dress and just turned up and danced. And that's what you've got.
And that was more fun than getting off with Larry Mullen?
Yeah, because it's when you're in I was like, what's this mermaid? What's this character? And is it a bit splashy or what's going on? Like, is she upset because she can't be a human? And like trying to find the character in the music video.
What's my motivation?
Yeah, totally. There was a deer in it, and I was a bit confused by that. So if you haven't seen it, do watch it. It's quite sweet. And so I love the fact of just being in a space, dancing without abandon. I did hurt my neck though, because I actually do those moves, like dum, 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 dum. I did that. I had to get that right, and I did hurt my neck. I had loads of Tiger Balm, like rubbing so much Tiger Balm on my neck.
Okay, I think we've got time for one more. If anybody from the back wants to come forward and be blessed, please feel free.
I think that.
You're happy? Okay. Oh, there's a lady here.
Thank you.
It's quite nice, isn't it, passing the mic?
Yeah.
Full admiration for you, Sam, from your days with Band of Gold.
Thank you.
I've told you so on Instagram as well. So,
oh, thank you.
Which you liked, actually, which is very kind of you.
Well, that's me.
That is you.
I know everyone else has got these teams of people. No, that's me. My husband helps me because I'm really rubbish with computers and phones. But yeah, it's me.
I'm sure everyone will agree that we all think you're fantastic and a wonderful person, and it's brilliant what you're doing for children, etc.
Thank you.
First question is, can I have your email address? No, I'm joking. No, actually, I just want to ask you, who would you work with in collaboration if you could, like past or alive?
Oh my gosh.
Other than this gentleman.
I've never thought about that. That's a really good question because I don't have any. I don't know. I literally don't know. We're supporting Massive Attack coming up soon, and that's blowing my mind. I'm terrified because I'm a huge fan. Actually, back to your question. So we're like on the bill there, and that's going to be phenomenal. Not that I'm collaborating with them, but I don't know. Thank you. I don't know. I'll think about that, and the next time I see you, I'll have an answer.
I've got one more question for you two, and it's just you obviously, this was a collaboration, an unexpected collaboration that has yielded a really beautiful album and a great friendship and some, the beginning of a lovely kind of live event as well. Absolutely great. When you think back to the process of making it, give us a moment that you really enjoyed or that encapsulated it. What would you like to think of?
There were a lot of moments. I think there was something about the sampling about, because it's a Bollywood record, so it's quite sort of it's not obviously part of what we're doing. It's not something I'd have found, the sort of culture and practice of sampling is something I'm quite dedicated to, but it's not something I don't think I'd have found it or really thought of using it. It's a vocal, and the fact that sort of Sam came up with that, brought it in, suggested we used it, and then she wrote this, well, it was words she'd already written that were on the wall, and we were kind of pulling them off the wall and editing it on the spot. That just how immediately that it sort of made itself. That song felt like it made itself, and we were just kind of like helping, sort of like pull it down from up there somewhere. So that was very special, and that then being the lead track and the opening track of the set.
Going back to that, nothing's really an accident or a coincidence. Actually, we think it might be, but it really isn't. We manifest all sorts of things in our lives. You make a wish, whether it's whatever. I'm trying to say that this is something that I've obviously dreamt about for a very, very long time. And the Highwood House is the name of a homeless hostel I lived in with my dad and my brothers and sisters. And next to Highwood House is a Pakistani community centre in Nottingham. And my dad didn't have any money to feed us, so every day we'd go and queue up and have these little metal trays and go and get our food, our thali, like that, and it was like £1 to feed us all. It was nothing, and that's all we ate every day. And it's really interesting because I hadn't put that connection together until recently, that then that piece of music that my husband played me that record, and I fell in love with it. And I think growing up in Nottingham, it's a very, very multicultural city, and actually I used to live just off Brick Lane for many, many years, just off Seeds, and I think that there's kind of, hopefully it's like bringing in all the influences of my childhood. So, I had Jamaican foster parents for a while before the Children's Act in 1989, when it became illegal. Well, not illegal, but they made it black people couldn't foster white kids, and the other way round. And so there's all these influences of my childhood in there, musical influences, and so it's kind of to suddenly be in a room with someone that also knew every reference. Every reference, kind of Richard just got it straight away. And it was like, I suppose is it like Kismet? It's like magic. Fate. Thank you. It's just, whoa, it's like special.
It's like the universe helping.
Totally. And be careful what you wish for as well. It's a good thing, but things happen. You can manifest the most incredible things in your life.
That's lovely. Thank you very much for that. Okay, I'd like to say thank you for being such a lovely audience. I think that the records are going to be down there. Am I right about this? I hope I'm vaguely saying that the records are going to be down there. I don't know. Anyway, the next bit is you get your records. And I'd like to say thank you very much for being a fantastic audience, and thank you to Sam Morton, which is Richard Russell.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out.
Thank you very
I
much.
know the football's on and it's Father's Day, and so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello everybody, if you're sticking around for the signing, please queue up down the left hand side of the store. We've still got the record on sale at the front, the bar's open, have a lovely evening. Thank you.